So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Raven, so let's start the series. Three shinobi squads are seen walking along an ancient path through a dense forest on their way to Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves. The first squad in the front was made up of a tall, muscular black man, a blonde girl, a red-haired boy, and a black-haired boy. The second squad on the first back right was made up of a gorgeous purple woman, a blonde girl, a black-haired boy, and a white-haired boy. The third squad was made up of a tall, muscular blonde man, two girls, one with red hair and the other black, and a red-haired boy. The first squad group is led by the Jounin Dick Grayson, heir of the Wayne clan, led by the Yodame Hikarakage Bruce Wayne. His black spiky hair moves as the wind blows, white domino mask intact on his face as he wears a white Jounin vest, and gray clothing, gray shirt, pants, and sandals. He leads a squad of 3 genin that specializes in combat of ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu and other specialties. The 2 of his genin from the same clan are Tim Drake, the black-haired boy wearing a black crossed red shirt with a bat-shaped symbol on the center, black pants and black sandals, and sunglasses, and Stephanie, a girl with short blonde hair, wears a black short top with fishnets body shirt underneath with her midriff showing, black skirt and fishnet leggings that reach to her knees with shin-guarded sandals, the only genin not from the Wayne clan but from another clan, Roy Harper of the Queen clan. His short orange hair and red shades, wears a red hoodie with his arrow-shaped clan symbol, black pants and sandals. The second squad group consists of Raven Roth, a purple-haired woman who is about an inch shorter than the 2 Jounin men. She wears a long black jacket, a blue shirt with black buttons on the top that reveals parts of her fishnet cleavage, black biker shorts that show off her thighs, black shin guards, and black sandals. Her team practices medical ninjutsu, and they include Tara Markov, a member of the Markovia clan, who is dressed in a black shirt with a butterfly, yellow cargo shorts, and black sandals. She also sports goggles over her blonde hair. Connor Kent, a black-haired boy, looks to be the strongest. He wears a tight black shirt with a red shield or his clan symbol, black pants, and black sandals. Lastly, there is Eddie Bloomberg, a white-tanned boy with a tattoo of a Tengu demon, golden arm bracelets, black sandals, and black pants. The last squad group is an interesting bunch because of the Jounin and his team. The blonde-haired man with a toothy grin is Garfield Namikaze, his athletic build the same as Dick's as he wears a white vest, green long-sleeve shirt and gray pants with sandals. There are 2 patches on the shoulders of his vest, one with the Uzumaki clan's maelstrom swirl on his left shoulder and the Uchiha clan's fan symbol on his right shoulder. His squad team are considered good in combat, as well as a good rescue team. The red-haired boy who is his young nephew Wally Namikaze, who wears a yellow jacket with red streaks, blue shorts and sandals. The 2 girls with them are about older than the other genin, but the one with onyx hair is the oldest, as she goes by Blackfire, who wears a black kimono with fishnet arm sleeves and leggings, as well as black shin guard sandals. Next to her is her sister Starfire, the red-haired girl 2 years younger than her sister, as she wears a purple kimono and doesn't wear any fishnets, leaving her skin bare, and she wears purple shin guard sandals. The 2 sisters all wear different necklaces, as Blackfire wears a moon necklace as Starfire wears a sun necklace, with his hands folded behind his head. Garfield sarcastically grumbled, "Are we there yet?" Richard said, "You used to run these trails all the time, and, you know we are," in a detached manner. Garfield grinned and opened his mouth to speak, but he was struck in the back of the head. "Stop it, you," demanded Raven. "Gar-sensei is so funny," Tara said, laughing as the small blonde child behind the pair twirled her hair in her finger. Raven grasped her boyfriend's hand in her own and said, "Remember to behave, We are supposed to be someone that our genin can look up to, with a frustrated sigh. I really need to talk to Turchan about her little obsession with Garfield, Raven thought. Garfield squeezed his lover's hand and said, "But I am behaving, Raven-chan, just enjoying everybody's company." Wally hopped over his uncle and yelled, "Hey, I see it." He pointed to the large walls and said, "Wow, those are some big walls." "Yeah, they are," concurred Garfield. Richard said, "Get your papers ready." Until his purple-haired girlfriend handed him the papers, Garfield was searching through his pockets with a terrified expression. "Damn, where are my papers?" he exclaimed. "I knew you'd forget them when you were getting ready, so I held on to them for you," Raven informed him. Garfield smiled as he went for his documents and said, "Oh Raven, you are a lifesaver. As a repayment, why don't we book a ho-dash?" Raven told him, "Save it and get going," as the gang proceeded to trek towards Konoha's fortifications. When the Kage no Tochi, Land of Shadows, ninja troop reached the entrance booth, two Chunin-ranked shinobi who appeared disinterested observed them and one of them said, "State your business." Richard, Raven, and Garfield put their papers down in front of Izumo and Kotetsu so they could view them. "We are all here for the Chunin exams," Richard said. Kotetsu noticed the blonde's shoulder patches with curiosity as his partner's eyes widened. "No way," he cried when he saw the blonde's name, Jounin. This all seems to be in order," Izumo said as he scanned the paperwork. "And this one," Kotetsu said, as his best friend shakily handed him the form for the red-haired lad and blonde-haired man. "En Namikaze?" "They're both say Namikaze," he said in a trembling voice, as they both glanced at the Namikaze men. Wally proudly declared, "Yep. I'm Wally Namikaze, heir to the Namikaze clan. Garfield Namikaze, member of the Namikaze clan and little brother to your Yodium Hokage," Garfield said, grinning at the two Chunin's expressions of surprise. "And not possible," Izumo and his companion appeared prepared to withdraw. "Very possible," said Garfield with a smug grin. The Leaf Shinobi cowered in terror as Raven's fiery eyes cried out, "Enough of this. Just let us enter, and you can go fanboy crazy later," Raven said. The two Chunin retorted in terror, "YYESS, returning the three Jounin's papers. "Please have a nice visit," they said. When the gate was opened, Richard discovered that the two Namikazes had already vanished. "Alright, now I want everyone to be on your best behavior once we enter the village and when you genin start the exams," he said. "Where did those two go?" Blackfire smirked and remarked, "Looks like Sensei has run off, sister. Perhaps we should do some exploring as well." As the two flew into the town, shocking the two Leaf Shinobi, Starfire joyfully answered, "Yes. I am interested in seeing the village of hidden leaves." Izumo trailed off, did they just, hardly believing what they had just witnessed. Fly. Kotetsu concluded, unable to believe, "Let's go find them, make sure they don't cause trouble," Raven said with a sigh as she squeezed the bridge of her nose. As the two squads divided into teams and dashed into the village hidden in the leaves, Richard said, "Agreed, squads, let's head out and find them." The two Chunin were stunned. Kotetsu went to his colleague and said, "Oi, Izumo-san, I think we should tell the Hokage-sama about this." As Kotetsu responded, "Call the ANBU squad," a headache began to grow. "Hokage-sama is going to have a huge headache, dealing with this news," Kotetsu said. Izumo to himself, "Dear Kami-sama, help us all," seeing the entire village surrounding him with his sensei and uncle perched on the building rooftops, Wally said, "Wow. So this is Konohagakure. So when can we stop at the food bars? I've been dying for some grub, for quite a while. They both shivered, remembering a time when the woman reprimanded them for hours for wandering off. Well, I do know a good ramen stand around here, Garfield said. But after we look around, we should head back to the group. You know how Raven is when we run off of our own. Wally looked down and saw something interesting. Well, I guess, he remarked. Hey Aji-sensei, isn't that Star-chan over there? That's a normal reaction, they've never seen a flying girl before, Garfield said, turning around to see his red-haired female student flying around the streets, shocking all of the shinobi and civilians. He didn't realize the girl wasn't paying attention as she flew around, appearing to be about to crash land someone. Starfire gazed in wonder at the village, which was very different from the one she and her sister had been staying in. As she explored the different shops and stands, she was sidetracked by the food stands that caught her attention and unintentionally ran into a blue-shirted boy who was with a group. OOF, both Starfire and the boy she had collided with exclaimed. The black-haired, spiky kid who tumbled to the ground with the girl on top of him exclaimed, "What hit me?" With an angry and envious expression on her face, the pink-haired girl asked, Sasuke-kun, are you all right? So much for your elite eyes, scoffed the blonde lad in the orange jumpsuit, mockingly, looks like you didn't see that one coming, huh team? The female on top of him interrupted Sasuke's answer, shut up, do dash, and he blushed deeply as he saw the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Starfire grinned and said, sorry about that, I was the distracted, as she glanced down at the boy below her. And to make matters worse, her smile made him think of his mother's. Starfire laughed as she stood back up and put her hand down to hold him up, saying, I'm sorry, new friend. I'm not used to flying in your village. The final Uchiha blushed, moved her hand away, and then tickled his tongue before standing up. Wait. Was flying what she said? He thought, but fortunately, he wasn't the one who posed the foolish query. You can fly. Naruto said in surprise, gesturing at the girl with the red hair. Sorry, but do I know you? The girl asked the blonde Uzumaki, who was frowning at her hand over the boy's strong response. Starfire then snapped her head at the blonde, who resembled her sensei. The girl's ability to fly was forgotten as Naruto responded bewilderedly, no. Unless you've been to the land of waves, I've never seen you or anyone beyond this village, he said. I have not, but you look like someone I know, Starfire said, tapping her chin. She wondered why the boy looked like her sensei, but she had heard of many people who looked like other people in the past, so perhaps it was just a coincidence. Oh, but my name is Coriandar or Starfire you can call me, I'm from the land hidden in the lights, what are your names, new friends, she asked. Sasuke said, Uchiha Sasuke, or Sasuke-kun if you can call me, feeling uneasy around the girl. Why am I nervous? Why did I call myself Sasuke-kun, I wonder? And let her use that name for me? Who is this bitch claiming to be? I'm Haruno Sakura, Sasuke-kun's teammate, Sakura said calmly, her inner self growling as she scowled at the flying girl. And the only one to be allowed to call him Sasuke-kun. Naruto pointed to himself and yelled, and don't forget about me, Uzumaki Naruto, soon to be Hokage. And together, we are Team 7. As she joyfully flew up, Starfire shouted, wow, it is nice to meet you all. I can't wait to introduce you all to my friends, my sister, and senseis. Blackfire, Starfire's sister, flew down behind the shocked Naruto and exclaimed, there you are, baby sis. After the older sister flew behind him, Naruto screamed, holy crap, there's another one. His heart skipped a beat. As her sister scoffed and turned to face the three Konoha Genin, Starfire exclaimed, hello, dear sister. Meet my new friends. The pink-haired one, I mean, you two boys look like you could handle me and my baby sister, Blackfire remarked, crossing her arms. Sakura yelled, furious because another flying girl had just made fun of her. What, is that a challenge to a fight? I'm talking about how long they'll last after me and my sisters mounted them. Blackfire grinned, surprising the males by pressing her arms against her chest. This infuriated Sakura even more. Ha ha ha, she exclaimed, laughing, you should have seen your faces. Ha ha ha. While Naruto and Sasuke flushed, Starfire reprimanded her sister, covering her face in shame. Sister. That is not appropriate to say. Who cares? Blackfire snorted, then looked closely at the lone blonde. Do I know you? You look familiar, she said. Naruto remarked irritably, not unless you've been to Land of Waves. Blackfire said, nope, can't say that I have, while biting her gums. Sakura yelled, trying not to choke the two sisters, hey wait a minute. I've never heard of the Land of Light. And you sluts get away from Sasuke-kun. After saying, I got a bad feeling, Aji-sensei, Wally stopped eating his ramen and turned to face his cousin. Garfield concurred, odd, me too, Wally-chan-sama, as the waitress laughed at the two. Wally sulked, stop calling me that, Aji-sensei. Oh, but you let your Oba-san call you that, Garfield said, grinning at the redhead who was mortified. That's because she's my Oba-san. You saying that just sounds weird, Wally replied. The waitress laughed and blushed when the elder man grinned at her. Era, you two are quite funny, she said. Garfield responded, why thank you, cutie pie, teasing the flushed waitress. I am replied, I bet you say that to the pretty girls you meet, which made the blonde grin even bigger. Just as he opened his mouth to reply, his nephew interrupted him. Garfield grumbled, oi, you're cramping my style, Wally-chan-sama, while playing along with his nephew. Don't make me punish you, by making you pay for this meal, he said. Wally grinned back, then I'll tell Oba-san that you made me pay for your meal, which made his sensei complain and the waitress laugh at the two of them. Garfield complained, damn clan heirs, and their selfish ways. The waitress took notice of Wally's objection, hey. I'm not selfish. Curious, clan heir. Which clan? I am said. With pride, Wally said, Namikaze's clan. I am cried out in disbelief, Namikaze. As in the Yodium Hokage. That Namikaze, she said, drawing attention to them. Like my Nissan's Hiration, but we don't need the seal to do it, but can I do help new beginners with the technique, Garfield said to the woman, whose eyes and mouth were wide open. My big brother was an exiled member of our clan, he didn't process our clan's Raiton affinity, that allows us to teleport, he said. I am exclaimed, you're the Yodium Sama's brother. Wally said, you bet he is. He's the Ku dash, but his uncle intervened. Stop, Wally, I want you to find your teammates and then meet up with Raven, don't let Starfire or Blackfire go anywhere with any strangers, Garfield told his Genin. The Leaf Shinobi or the civilians can't be trusted, they may try to kidnap and turn the girls into breeding stock. Wally obeyed, hi, sensei, and vanished in a burst of fiery orange. Garfield turned back to the stunning waitress as Wally walked away, and he struck up a conversation by asking, "So, what can you tell me about yourself?" With his endearing smile. "I'm hearing from T the Yodame's brother." When the passing women noticed the blonde Jounin talking to the waitress, I am blushed wildly out of embarrassment and failed to notice their jealous glances. Connor, standing on the roof searching for his fellow genin along with Tara, Tim, Stephanie, Roy, and Eddie, said angrily, "I can't believe those idiots ran off. If we get late because of them, I'll dash." As he saw the red-orange blur circling the settlement, Tim said to him, "Calm down, Connor-san. I think I spotted Wally-san, but no sign of Garfield-sensei," he said. Roy remarked, "He's probably running around grabbing some ass to take at a hotel," while Eddie laughed. "Shut it, Roy," Tara shooed at her teammate. "What?" "It's true," grinned Roy. Tara angrily yelled at the archer, "NOITS not. Garfield-sensei would never be a whore." Roy grinned further and said, "He could if Raven-sensei allowed him to." Tara complained, but she secretly dreaded that her sensei, the woman she looked up to and considered her big sister, would permit her crush to do just that. "Then Raven-sensei would only let me be with him, not some random bitch," Tara said. Roy rolled his eyes and sidestepped a tiny rock that was thrown at him. "Sure she would," he said. After breaking up the battle between the two, Connor said, "I just spot Wally, focusing on the red flashes." He leaped into the air and scanned the area until he spotted the clan heir in the center of a street with his colleagues and a Leaf Genin squad. "Found him. Let's go," he hurried away. "Hokage-sama." A bare Anbu knelt down in front of the elderly man in the Hokage's office. Sarutobi said, "What is it, Kuma?" As he pondered the reason behind the Anbu's panic. "Two foreign shinobi in for the Chunin exams, Wally and Garfield Namikaze," Kuma said. "Garfield Namikaze is back in the village?" Sarutobi asked, dropping his pen and staring at the Anbu in front of him. He perspired, worried about what might go wrong in this circumstance. Sarutobi questioned him, "Tell me, has he learned about Minato's son?" "No, Hokage-sama," replied Kuma, "but it's only a matter of time. What should we do, Hokage-sama?" Sarutobi knew that the Namikaze clan would return at some point, but he wasn't ready because it had been so long. As a result, he gave the Anbu a direct response. His mind was racing with a headache and thoughts of the young Jounin. "Kami is aware that the truth will harm both him and me, so please bring him to me as soon as he finds out about the boy," Sarutobi said to him. "Listen carefully, Kuma," he said. "If Garfield Namikaze were to meet the boy or learn anything about him, I shall deal with this." Kuma obeyed, "Hi, Hokage-sama," as he disappeared in a whirl of leaves. Looking at the image of the Yodium Hokage, the Sandaime Hokage sighed, reflecting on his failure to make Naruto a hero, "I have failed you, but I haven't failed the village. I did what was best for the village, I did what I had to do," he said. With his hands behind his head, Naruto stepped directly next the taller black-haired girl and grinned up at her, asking, "So what's the land of shadows like? How did I start crushing on him so quickly?" Blackfire asked herself, scolding herself for feeling affection for the boy she had just met and cursing him for being so small and cute. She shivered as she looked down at the blonde who was smiling so brightly at her. Or why a damn midget had to be involved. As she repressed such emotions, she thought, "Hey guys," the blonde boy exclaimed, leaping into the girl's arms as a red flash blinded them. A red-haired kid was in the center of the group, saying, "Glad to have found you guys. before turning to say, "Do I know you?" to the blonde Uzumaki. No, Naruto said, perspiring from fear of such a cheerful-looking man. Sasuke grinned and said, "Scared, dope." He was more concerned with his opponent than the extra weight in his arms. But fortunately, everyone's attention was drawn to Starfire, who was in the final Uchiha's arms. When the blonde understood what situation he was in, he blushed deeply and leaped down, humiliation written all over his face. Starfire pouted, "Wally-kun, stop scaring me." When Sasuke eventually saw the lady in his arms, he chastised himself for being more concerned with making fun of his opponent than with his own person. "Get off me," he yelled, tearing his arms away, and preparing to drop her. "That was not nice, Sasuke-kun," she said, continuing to wrap her arms around the Uchiha for a few seconds before pulling away, but instead of falling, she floated in midair. "Trust me, Sasuke team is not the most likable guy to be around with," Naruto said. The pink-haired girl glared at the flying female as Sasuke yelled, "Quiet, you!" at the smirking Uzumaki. As he wiped his chin and wondered where his sensei's girlfriend would be, Wally remarked, "Okay, then Star-chan, B-chan, let's go meet up with Raven-sensei, wherever she is." Then Connor came behind him and struck him in the head, asking, "Ow, why did you do that?" "Come on you three, Raven-sensei and Richard-sensei are meeting up and they want us there," Connor informed them. "And where is Garfield-sensei?" he inquired. "Oh, he's going to meet up soon. He sent me to make sure our flying duo don't get into trouble," Wally remarked while pointing to Blackfire and Starfire. "Come on, girls, we should meet up and get any last-minute advice or information for the Chunin exams." "All right," murmured Blackfire, rolling her eyes as she turned to face the blonde genin. "Hopefully, I'll see you and your friends at the exams later, Whiskers." With an enthusiastic wave, Naruto answered, "I hope so as well, Blackfire." The black-haired girl was relieved to leave the lad who had made her feel so warm and light as Blackfire and the others did. With his stomach rumbling to life, Naruto cried out, "I'm hungry." "You want to come with, Team Sakura-chan?" he inquired. Without a word, Sasuke walked away after clicking his tongue. After asking, "What about you, Sakura-chan?" Naruto was struck on the top of the head. "I love, Sasuke-kun," Sakura said as she pounded the youngster on his head. "Be quiet, Naruto-baka. You aren't good enough for me." After she hurried out to meet up with her crush, Naruto departed a few seconds later, frowning, and missing the pale-eyed girl who was observing him. As Hinata watched her crush go, she thought, "She isn't good enough for you, Naruto-kun." She then thought, she might be a problem, turning back to the black-haired foreign shinobi. "Ah, that was some good ramen," Garfield thought to himself as he left the Ikemara ramen stand and left a tip for the cute waitress. "That Iron girl sure was beautiful, maybe I can convince Ray-chan to invite her for a threesome," he thought as he continued walking through the village, but he paused for a moment and looked up at the monumental mountain of the carved heads of the previous Hokages, especially the Yodame's head. "Minato-ne, how I've missed you and Kushina-chan, after all these years," the blonde thought, considering going to their graves later as memories of the enjoyable time in the village came flooding back. "I wonder how's Mikado-chan is doing," he thought. "Perhaps I ought to go to the Uchiha compound later. Perhaps I ought to get together with some of my old pals, like Kurenai and Anko. How is Tsundano doing, I wonder? Maybe I can find Kakashi and Guy and see if they would like to spar," the Namikaze asked himself as he continued on his journey, recalling his numerous childhood friends and crushes in the village. Tell them how much I've changed over the years. The lone Shadow Village shinobi ignored everything, including the little blonde boy who walked past him, as he continued on his path past some villagers and off-duty ninjas. The blonde simply stared up in the sky, ignoring the whispers of those around him. He also failed to notice a blonde boy with spiky hair in an orange jumpsuit who was walking past him with a frown. As he let out a deep, anxious sigh, Naruto remarked, "What a strange day. First it was alright, but then that flying girl show up and the red-haired guy, and Sasuke team was acting weird. Why do I even bother getting Sakura-chan to notice me? All she does is pay attention to that emo team, who never looks at her the way he looked at that strange girl," he said, clenching his fists before he glanced up at the Hokage monument. "I'll show them. Someday, I'm going to be a great Hokage," he exclaimed. Garfield stopped walking and turned to look at the boy who caught his eye. He gasped as he saw the blonde boy in the orange jumpsuit, especially staring at the red maelstrom, the symbol of the Uzumaki clan. He saw the blue eyes and the whiskers on his cheeks, which reminded him of his brother Minato. It can't be," Garfield said. "That outfit with the Uzumaki clan symbol, can it be, can it?" the man wondered, glancing at the blonde child. As his eyes widened even more at the likeness, the blonde got a good look at the youngster. "Minato's son," he muttered. Richard Grayson was the one shouting at the blonde Jounin, "What were you thinking?" The clan heir demanded of the Namikaze man, "We had a plan. A straightforward plan. Later that same day, we found the three Jounin sensei in the same hotel room as Garfield Namikaze and Raven Roth." With a sigh and a submissive wave of his hand, Garfield said, Yeah, I know, I just felt like a kid again when I entered the village and ran off without thinking. I'm sorry." The dark-haired guy looked at his best buddy while Richard gritted his teeth and hissed, trying not to reprimand him too harshly. "I get that, Garfield, I really do, but isn't an excuse. You are a sensei to three genin, and you really need to start acting like it," Richard said. With a defeated sigh, Garfield lay on the bed with his head resting on his girlfriend's lap and said, "I know, I'm sorry." Richard sighed, "I know you are, you always are." In an attempt to lighten the atmosphere, Garfield grinned and said, "At least the kids got to see a little of the village." Richard shouted again, not enjoying the humor or the attempt to lighten the mood. "Yeah, not only clan heirs by themselves, but one very gullible girl who could have easily been manipulated by the people in the village and used to breed a new generation of Tamaranian in this village. Don't ever think so low of me. They have earned our trust to take care of themselves," Garfield protested, leaping up from his headrest and snarling at his companion. "I have hydration seals on all of them, just in case something went wrong and I couldn't sense them." "You're right, but that doesn't excuse you of running on your own like that, Garfield-san. After this, you will make up for getting us worried like that," wrote Richard, who exhaled and calmed himself after being reminded of his friend's caution. Calm from the warmth of his lover's lap, Garfield remarked, "Okay, after we've finished the Chunin exams, I'll take what's coming towards me." "Same old, Dickie-kun, right, Raven-chan?" he asked. "Yes," Raven concurred. "And Raven-san, keep an eye on him," Richard said as he made his way to the door. "I'm going to check on our students, they should be getting prepared for the exams tomorrow," he said. Raven said, "Hi, Richard-san," as the dark-haired heir walked out of the room. "Enjoying yourself?" Raven asked, observing her lover's love and lust as he delighted in spending time alone and on her lap. "Totally," he said, placing his head like a pillow on her lap. "So, you want to do it?" he said. Raven urged, "No, why don't you tell me what's bothering you? What are yo dash, Garfield's lover interrupts him. Raven urged her blonde boyfriend, remember that I am empathetic and can sense how distraught you are. Garfield sighed and rolled over, looking into the demon's tummy. Right, I forgot, he said. I saw someone today, who was it? Raven inquired, was it any of those girls you mentioned to me? Garfield said, pressing his face into his girlfriend's tummy and sniffing her, no, this is someone whom I have never spoken about before, my brother's son, Naruto. I saw him on the streets, he said. Raven waited to hear more as she ran her fingers through her blonde hair. And Garfield continued, recalling that day when he was informed of the news and the three bodies, Minato, Kushina, and Naruto, were set on fire. When I learned that my brother and Kushi-chan had passed away, I hurried back to find my nephew, but the Hokage claimed that he had died with his parents. Sarutobi looked me in the face and said that Naruto was dead. Raven had previously witnessed her lover become angry and even kill someone out of that rage, but this time it seemed so different. He had always been fiercely protective of his family, so when his nephew was taken from him, he was never able to raise him the way he should have. Raven whispered, I'm sorry about that, Garfield, while, no, don't be, Garfield reassured, turning his head to face her and her enormous breasts in front of him. Once I confront him and get the answers I want, the Hokage should be sorry, he said. Raven, becoming intrigued herself, asked, I wonder why the Hokage Dano lied to you about Naruto? You're their son's uncle and closest relative, and he could have given him back to you when your brother and Kushina died, Raven said. Garfield responded angrily, that's what I don't get either. Sarutobi has a lot of explaining to do. He's always been a good man, an honorable man. You should tell your students, maybe through them, you can set up a meeting between you and Naruto, Raven said. While I will tell my team, I don't need to use them to talk to my own nephew, Garfield said, kissing the purple-haired woman's neck and cheek before he got up and took his favorite woman into his lap. The two were abruptly interrupted in their tracks by a knock at the door. Garfield yelled, come in, as he sensed his tram and his lover's team approaching. 6 teens rush in the door as it is opened, standing at the foot of the bed. Go, uncle. Wally screamed in his head, I wish I were that person. Terra pondered, Raven questioned, what are you doing here, as the two turned to face their students and parted ways. Wally exclaimed, we were wondering if you all can buy us dinner. But we ended up overhearing your conversation, Blackfire said, with her arms folded. Great, Garfield grumbled, it appears that he will need to inform them of the issue. When Starfire said, we have no idea that you and Naruto-san are related, Sensei, the elder Namikaze took notice. Garfield said, wait, you know Naruto? We met him, Blackfire told her sensei. Spiky blonde hair, blue hair, whiskers and wears that ugly orange jumpsuit for some reason, he even had that red swirl like on your Jounin vest, Garfield asked, when did you guys meet him? When my sister crashed into some boy we met his team, I think their names are Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, and that pink-haired girl, but I can't remember her name, Garfield blinked, perplexed, why do I know that name? Uchiha. Wait Sasuke. The flashback begins, Garfield Namikaze was a young boy who struggled to stay upright and avoid falling on his face. His legs felt like stone, but that didn't stop them from wobbling beneath him. Sweat was dripping from his hair and shirt, and his breath was shallow and deep. The blond boy fell forward, but fortunately his older brother caught him. Minato remarked proudly, whoa there, looks like you've gotten stronger, Garfield said. Yeah, Tusama has increased my training, omitting his brother's wince as he put his eyes down. Minato scowled. I hope he isn't too harsh on you, Garfield replied with a hint of pride. Of course not, it's easy, I mean I was able to make you sweat a little at least. Yeah, you did, Minato said, wiping the perspiration from his forehead with his finger. You also got a few good hits in as well. The two brothers exchanged glances and a smile that only a Namikaze could have before they abruptly heard a certain Uzumaki woman's voice. When her hidden husband and his younger brother arrived, Kushina shouted, Minakuan. Gar-chan. Mikoto-chan is here to visit. Garfield let go of his brother's arms and hurried to his first two loves, shouting, Kushina-chan. Mikoto-chan. Whoa there Gar-chan, said Kushina, forming a barrier with her chakra chains to prevent the adolescent from colliding with them. Bam! The Hokage quipped, guess you weren't too tired after all, as Minato winced and Garfield moaned as he fell to the ground, face first, into the chains. Garfield scratched his face and whimpered, "O.W., Kushi-chan." He wanted to know, why did you do that? The adolescent blushed as Kushina chuckled at her own joke and said, because we can't have you jumping on us, adding, because Mikoto-chan and I are pregnant, so you have to be careful around us. Garfield paused his face rubbing and glanced up at the faint lumps on the two women's abdomens, asking, you're pregnant? Kushina massaged her stomach and shouted, yep. This one is Naruto. De Tebane. What about you, Miko-chan? Garfield asked, putting his hands on the tummies of the two expectant women and muttering, cool. Fugaku has decided to name him Sasuke, Mikoto sighed. He decided that it would be a good idea to bring the clan back into a positive light with the village. Hi there, Sasuke-chan, Garfield said, scowling and resting his ear on Mikoto's stomach. He then said the same to his sister-in-law, hello, Naru-chan. Flashback comes to an end. Garfield pondered whether Mikado was present and thought, Uchiha Sasuke? As in Mikado's son. How are you, Gar-sensei? Terra inquired, oh, I see. Why is that? Garfield answered, Connor informed him, well, you've been staring into space for about 6 minutes and we were getting worried, and threatened to shake the sensei out of his slumber. According to Garfield, who was massaging the back of his head, I was just remembering something, anyway, here's a secret mission for you guys, he said. A covert mission? Excitedly, Eddie asked, however, what about tests? As Wally noted, yes, but it's not a mission, more like a meet and greet mission. I want you guys to meet Naruto and Sasuke during the Chunin exams. I'm not asking you all to spy or get info on them, I want you to socialize with them just to keep a lookout for them, is what you're trying to say, Raven concluded. Really? Why? Eddie inquired bewilderedly, yes. Of course we will. Terra cried out, flushed and eager to do whatever it took to please Raven or Garfield. Great to hear, Terra-chan, Garfield said with a grin. Now he doesn't know that I'm his uncle and I'm starting to believe that he doesn't know who's his mother and father are, so don't say anything you shouldn't say, hello. The two teams were unaware, exactly how do we do that? I don't mean to be that person, but how exactly can we do that in an event that matches genin teams against each other? Blackfire asked blankly. That's for you to figure out, Raven replied, consider it a side mission beside the Chunin exams, right before the exams, try sneaking in a few moments during the exam and there is the 1-month period between the exams and the finals, so, all we have to do is for me, Star-chan and Kuro-chan to meet and greet my long-lost Otoko without knowing that he is my Otoko, Wally says. Then I'd introduce him to Connor-san, Tara-san, and Eddie-san. However, what about the squad led by Richard-sensei? It would be impolite to keep our friends in the dark, Starfire noted. We don't tell Richard-san and his team, not until I give the say-so, Garfield advised them. If I know that guy for years as a ninja, he's sharp. If he asks you all anything then play dumb. Oh, like we have to act like Garfield-sensei, he won't suspect a thing, Connor said. As Eddie said, yeah, just play dumb like Garfield-sensei. Yep, dumb sensei, smirked Blackfire. I'll pretend to be Garfield-sensei's idiot. Starfire stated plainly. Wally rubbed his chin and said, I might be ahead of you guys, because I'm better to play as Aji-san for this role. These kids are so cruel, Garfield moaned, pressing his head into his lover's large chest after learning that all the pupils were making fun of him. Cease disparaging Garfield-sensei. He's upset with you. Raven comforted the poor guy while Tara reprimanded the 5 genin. Raven patted her lover's head and whispered, this is just sad, you know, as he pressed his face against her enormous bosom. Sasuke Uchiha sat in his room and gazed at one of his 2 pictures, one of his mother and father and the other of him and Itachi, with Itachi essentially cut out with a kunai. He would look at these 2 pictures for hours on end before going to sleep in order to remember his life's purpose, to exact revenge on his clan, kill Itachi, and then rebuild the clan. The young Uchiha heir looked back at the picture after briefly closing his eyes, and he jumped back and shook himself as he saw himself and the foreign girl in the picture instead of his parents. However, tonight was different. As he looked at his most treasured possession, he faintly heard the voice of the floating girl from earlier in his head. He remembered her voice, her face, her smile, her body, but more importantly, he remembered the red-haired girl's smile, the one that was driving him crazy. What am I doing wrong? Why am I still thinking about her? Sasuke wondered himself as he moved away from the photo and lay down on the ground. The final devoted Uchiha dozed off with those thoughts, prepared to take the Chunin exams. Wearing his sleeping cap and blue pajamas, Naruto was excited as he lay in his old, crumbling bed, trying to think of a way to have Sakura notice him for once and make Sasuke appear foolish. Kakashi was also excited, saying, first a Chunin, then the Hokage. The blonde boy cried out, envisioning a future in which he would be loved and never be ignored or hurt again. He began to reflect on how the day had gone, meeting some other genin for the exams who were from a place called the Land of Light. Naruto wondered what kind of ninjas were from the Land of Light, especially if it houses 2 flying girls with orange skin. That Starfire was cute, but her sister Blackfire was hot. She does look really nice, he thought, his face flushed by the recollection. I mean, she looks older and way hotter than Sakura, he added, trying not to sound like a pervert. Yeah right, like a girl like her would give her time with a guy like me, he said, trying not to sound like a pervert. After that, he fell asleep. Today is the first morning of the Chunin exams, and Team 7 is getting ready to go to the exam site. With his trademark smile, Naruto remarked, I don't know about you guys, but I think I have the exams good in the bag. Keep repeating yourself, Baka. Sakura sneered at him, you do realize that Sasuke-kun can easily pass the exams? Because he didn't know why Starfire was on his mind, Sasuke didn't respond, instead letting his thoughts wander. Kun Sasuke. Sakura shouts at him, hey, Sasuke team. Naruto awakens Sasuke from his reverie by plucking the back of his head. Dobe, what? Sasuke inquired obnoxiously, you were pretty out of it when Sakura-chan was calling out for you, Naruto stated to him. With a contrite expression, Sasuke replies, "My apologies, I was just thinking about something." When Naruto realized that the final Uchiha had just apologized, he glanced at his competitor in disbelief. Unsure of what to do or say, the blonde Uzumaki simply watched helplessly. "Dobe, what are you looking at?" Sasuke demanded, finding the constant gaze bothersome. Have you simply expressed regret?" With a trembling finger pointing to his male teammate, Naruto inquired. Their pink-haired buddy appeared to be going to faint. With a gloomy expression on his face, Sasuke simply clicked his tongue and turned his head away, quietly healing himself for his mistake, and in public, at that. Sakura then made a feint. "Sakura-chan." Naruto gave a startled yelp. "Weakling," Sasuke thought, rolling his eyes and glancing at the girl with the pink hair for a half-second. He then brushed her aside. Naruto was going to chastise the Uchiha for not caring about their buddy when he was startled by a familiar and loud voice. "Hello, Sasuke-kun and Naruto-kun, my new pals." Starfire greeted and she floated right behind the blonde boy, who she made jump. She noticed the pink-haired girl on the floor and she gasped before picking her up. "Is Sakura-chan alright?" she inquired. "How are things going, Starfire-san?" Naruto inquired. "Yes, the tests are what I am most looking forward to. I rescued a cat from a dog's pursuit before I left. Demonstrating my tremendous shinobi skills, huh?" As the girl's exuberance caused the two-leaf genin to perspire, Starfire inquired while cradling the unconscious Sakura. "My dear sister meant, Kunoichi," spoke Blackfire, who descended and gave her younger sister a hard blow to the head. "And what did Sensei say you about going alone?" As their male teammate joined in, consuming a ramen cup, she reprimanded her sister. Starfire rubbed her head and said, "Sorry, sister," as Sakura began to awaken. "Oh, don't be too hard on her, B-chan," Wally said while he was eating his noodles. "You know how she gets if she gets cut off from her sugar," he said. Blackfire responded, surreptitiously glancing at the blonde genin, "She's always like this, stop making her seem more normal for these people," and fortunately, she was effective. A drooling blonde Uzumaki interrupted Wally as he was saying, "Sorry, just may I help you?" he asked, as the red-haired child consumed the feast of the gods in front of him. Naruto drooled, "Ramen," asking, "Is that from Ichiraku?" Wally said, "Yeah, my sensei got it for us," perplexed by his secret cousin's behavior. Then it dawned on him that his cousin must be just like his uncle and enjoy ramen. "Do you want some?" "Our sensei sealed away a bunch for us," Wally said. "Yes," cried Naruto, as the idea of consuming more ramen than he had previously consumed caused stars to dance in his eyes. "He definitely is Sensei's nephew," Blackfire said as she observed her friend fulfill his promise to give the blonde some ramen and watch as the little kid consumed at least 5 bowls in less than 30 seconds. While Sasuke merely grimaced, Naruto exclaimed, "Okay, now I feel recharged." Sasuke questioned him, "Didn't you have breakfast before heading down here?" Since he's a little low on food, Naruto says, "Yeah, but nothing's wrong with 5 bowls of ramen in the morning." In reality, he simply had some bread and milk for breakfast because the ramen has really filled him up. Sakura suddenly woke up and found herself in the arms of someone. "Huh? Who's keeping me? Could it be?" She looked up, expecting to see Sasuke holding her, but instead she saw the orange-skinned Kunoichi. "Her," she exclaimed. "Those flying girls once more." Looking perplexed and furious, she thought, with her arms over her back, exposing her bust, Blackfire said. Anyway, why don't we walk to the exams compound together? Care to show us around? Naruto blushed and looked at his colleagues. Oh, sure, the least we can do, he said. You guys don't mind, right? Sasuke murmured, whatever, ignoring them as he considered the tests. Sakura is going to object after leaving Starfire's embrace, but she chooses to at least agree with him when he says, yeah, I guess if they want to follow us around, I don't see no problem, because Sasuke has agreed to take the other genins to the exams. As the 6 genins march approach the exams compound, Starfire exclaims, oh joy! We get to go to the exams. There is only one person who can call Kakashi by that name, and that person inquired, you love reading Ichi Ichi Paradise don't cha, Kainashi-san? Garfield, Kakashi murmured in awe as he paused and turned to face someone he never imagined seeing again. Hey there, Kakashi, Garfield said with a warm grin that faded into a faint frown. Fearing the cause for his sensei's younger brother's presence, Kakashi questioned, what are you doing here? Garfield replied, implying his nephew, you know why I am here, and the silver-haired guy swore to himself. Is he aware that Naruto is still alive? Desperately, Kakashi cried, how could he find out? He wasn't allowed to know because it was such a closely kept secret until Naruto was totally devoted to the Leaf Village. Garfield grinned once more, pleased by the feelings he could see in the man's eyes, yeah, you know, for the Chunin exams. Kakashi exhaled, happy that the Namikaze man had not discovered the truth about his nephew. Yes, the Chunin exams, he said. Glancing down at his students' association with his secret nephew and his group, Garfield questioned, so are those your students, Kainashi-san? Why yes, said Kakashi, hoping to occupy Garfield. So I'm assuming that those students belong to you, he asked. Oh, I'm just here to make sure my beloved students are safe on their way, said Garfield. So until then, why don't we catch up for good time's sake? I'm sure that you have some funny stories, and maybe meeting up some old friends on the way, of course, Garfield, Kakashi groaned, beginning to recall how eager his old sensei's younger brother was, nearly as eager as Obito was in his genin days. Raven had just performed genjutsu on a couple of somewhat inferior shinobis while standing atop a tree. Rather than killing them, she gave them the impression that they were on a wild goose chase, as killing them would just attract the notice of more ninjas. Raven reflected, that was close. She and Garfield were fortunate to prevent their students from being taken away to work in Konoha's breeding factories. Good thing I'm an empath, or Starfire and Blackfire would have been in serious trouble. I hope my team are just as aware. Raven then questioned whether all Konoha shinobis were truly as pitiful as these so-called jounin. Naruto said, well, we're here, as they arrived at the exam site. As he, Starfire, and Blackfire bowed to Team 7, Wally said, sweet, thanks my man. You guys are awesome, hope we can make it as Chunin soon, he said. Looking at the exam building, Blackfire stated, just one step closer, sister, so we'll be able to fight her. Yes, indeed sister, Starfire said, maintaining her sister's solemn and focused expression. Naruto and Sasuke saw their appearances and questioned what was wrong. Until a different voice is heard, as she marched over to her fellow Shadow Village friends, the blonde girl Terra asked, what took you guys so long? Connor-san and Eddie-san are waiting for you guys while Dick Sensei's students are already up on the exam rooms, she said. To which Wally replied, sorry Terra-chan, just meeting up with these guys we've met yesterday, pointing to Team 7. Only Naruto waved, Sasuke glanced away, and Sakura simply displayed signs of worry. That's Garfield-sensei's nephew, Terra thought, glancing at the boy. He's just as cute as Garfield-sensei, and that Uchiha is too. From the way he looks, he gives off this edgy kind of cool guy you see in the mangas. As Raven's student, Terra is able to observe and recognize people's personalities based on their appearance, body language, and fighting styles. Well, don't just stand there, let's go inside, Terra said. As he and his group followed the two foreign teams, Naruto exclaimed, "Yeah! Naruto Uzumaki will become a Chunin. And then, the Hokage." However, Sasuke and Sakura remained behind, watching with annoyance as the blonde left them. Sasuke said, "Damn, dope," and then he followed the one teammate he could tolerate. When Sakura turned her head to the side, she saw that her crush was actually not there but was walking directly behind her other teammate. "What a dope, right, Sasuke-kun?" she asked with a smile, trying to win him over. "Wait up, Sasuke-kun," she thought as she ran to catch up with her crush. Despite thinking about their ultimate objective, Blackfire continued to observe the blonde walking next to her and how it made her stomach turn to knots. "Why do I feel nervous around him?" she asked herself. "A kunoichi like myself shouldn't dwell on something like this," she thought bewilderedly. The black-haired girl attempted to push these thoughts aside as a cloud of smoke suddenly materialized in front of them. "What the hell?" she cried. A voice said, "Feast your eyes on the next great Chunin." As Team 7 and the international team scanned their surroundings and noticed a silhouette in front of them. Now what? As the smoke cloud dissipated, Team 7 had the same thought. They saw a boy with black bowler hair, black eyes, and a green spandex suit that could only be described as a walking fashion disaster. "Sasuke Uchiha," the unidentified entity said while striking a battle stance. "I, Rock Lee, challenge you to dash." Connor interrupted the weirdo's introduction, saying, "What is up with this damn smoke?" Eddie, Tim, Stephanie, and Roy then followed. "Man, what took you guys so long? But thanks to these honeys, we finally made it," Blackfire said, ignoring the odd creature as she patted Naruto and Sasuke's shoulders. "Sorry, we were lost," she said. Roy crossed his arms and winked at Sakura, asking, "And who are these foxy girls?" Connor smirked as he said to the archer, "Probably nobodies. I mean, what can Whiskers, Pinky, and Sunshine do?" Naruto, who was quickly enraged by the strong boy's rudeness, exclaimed, "What?" Sakura put her fists on her hips and said, "Rude much?" Rock Lee opened her mouth to respond, but Sasuke shot back. Sasuke gave the tall, muscular lad a stern look and asked, "Do you know who I am, insect?" Connor crossed his arms and grinned, "No, should I? It must be some sort of emo, the scrawl looks so natural on your face," he said. "What is he doing?" As Terra, Wally, and Eddie prayed that the clan heir would cease his attempts to enrage the Uchiha, "I'll crush you," was all Sasuke murmured before leaving everyone behind, his gaze turning as steely and fringed as the coldest of icebergs. "Such a cold and miserable guy you are, Sasuke-kun," thought the red-haired girl as she scowled and watched the Uchiha leave with his two colleagues in tow. "I think you went a little too far, Connor-kun," she said, shivering as she felt the terrible emotions behind the young Uchiha's gaze. The only heir of the Uchiha clan, Connor grinned and said, "It's time to show the elemental nations of the clans from the village hidden of shadows what they can do. And the Uchiha is the ideal pawn to do just that." Wally jumped up and gave the incredibly muscular boy a high five, saying, "Rock on." As they followed suit and started their first section of the test, Blackfire thought, "You may have made things more interesting, but then again you just made things worse for our side mission." Several Jounin instructors from various villages surrounded the room in the hidden viewing room above the third floor, watching as their students interacted with one another for at least an hour before a cloud of smoke caught everyone's attention and a terrified man wearing a trench coat emerged from the smoke. Kurenai was shocked and a little concerned about her genins when she heard, "Ibiki-san is in charge of the written exams?" She bit her lip and thought, "This isn't good, Hinata-chan is too kind and soft-hearted for Ibiki. I'm sure your genin will do fine, Hinata may just surprise you, if that's what worries you," Asuma said, extinguishing his cigarette and secretly reaching between himself and his hidden girlfriend to hold her hand. "Not surprising if you think about it," he said. Squeezing her lover's hand, Kurenai responded, "I haven't had much time to work on her self-confidence, so I am worried about her." "Oh no," she moaned. Asuma concurred, "That's not good," since they both noticed the girl they were discussing sitting directly next to her crush. A voice said, "Wow," as it suddenly materialized directly between them. "That girl looks just like Hitomi-chan," the two said. Kurenai and Asuma split off in disbelief and turned to see a smirking, familiar face. "Kid?" Asuma asked, dropping his cigarette from his lips to the ground. At his response, Garfield grinned and said, "I'm not that much younger than you, Asuma." Kurenai looked at the man who resembled the late Yondaime and said, "No way, Garkuen," without understanding. "And you, Asuma, don't you know what smoking does to your lungs?" Garfield said to the red-eyed Kunoichi, "Kurenai, you look beautiful as ever." Asuma said, "What are you doing here?" after noticing that the Yondaime's younger brother was acting startlingly for the first time and that his hidden girlfriend was beginning to show signs of concern. Hold on, why is Kurenai looking at him like that?" Asuma inquired. "She couldn't be fond of this man, can she?" When Garfield said, "I'm here to check out my nephew and his team for the exams," the two were taken aback as though he knew. "Oh look, there's my nephew, Wally over there," he said, pointing to the redhead seated between two ninjas in the center. The Namikes also saw Blackfire sitting next to Naruto on the left, placing Naruto in the center. "And it looks like my other student, Blackfire is sitting where that Hyuga girl is sitting, wonder who's the blonde in the middle? I feel bad about this kid sitting with these pretty girls, am I right?" Asuma and Kurenai perspired. They both thought, "Yep, that's Yondaime's little brother," and they are now at ease because he is still unaware. "Kami, do you have to make things like some kind of romance novel?" Raven asked him, as he gazed upon the two Konoha. "Sorry about my fellow Jounin's behavior, he was once part of our village's comedy improv troupe for a while, but they kicked him out because he was stealing the show." Garfield's fist was held high as he yelled, "I told you they were jealous of my artistic comedy. My impressions of the Hikarikage-sama were gold." As Richard watched his younger brother Timothy take the tests, he requested, "Would you be quiet so we can watch our students and how they do well in the tests?" Garfield put his arms around Kurenai's and Asuma's shoulders and held them close to him, saying, "Got it. I can't wait to see what Scareface has planned." "Neither can I," Kurenai said, nodding slightly. Naruto Uzumaki was seated in the exam room between the Hyuga clan heiress Hinata, whom he had known for a few years, and Blackfire, a light village shinobi. The blonde chuckled nervously to himself, knowing that he couldn't pass this test and that he would fail the exam for his team. "Damn, I can't be the reason that we fail," he said. As he reviewed his test paper, the blonde pondered, "Naruto-kun? Maybe I can volunteer to help him," before that girl does," Hinata thought regretfully as she hoped her crush would pass the test, knowing that he had little chance because he didn't have the same training as Eris. Ibiki began by gesturing to the Chunin shinobu gathered around the room, saying, "There are 9 questions and you will have 20 minutes to do so. These Chunin will monitor you, and if you get caught cheating 5 times, you and your team will be eliminated and kicked out of the Chunin exams." They all doubted themselves, or at least the most of them did, and a rumbling of genin shinobi began. Ibiki said, "Silent. The test starts now," knowing that if Naruto fails, they fail. Sasuke and Sakura thought, "We are so screwed," but they hoped that, by some miracle, Naruto would somehow pass with some sort of luck. The genins are secretly employing strategies to cheat by examining other people's replies. For example, Gaara of the Sand Village utilizes his skills to review some pupils' responses, while Shino employs his bugs to provide him with the answers. Timothy, Stephanie, Tara, and Roy are trained to watch the most intelligent ninjas in order to obtain the answers. Connor's eyes are unique in that they can see through everything, including the answers. This is similar to the Hyuga's Byakugan, but unlike the Byakugan, his activates when the iris of his eyes turns red. The clan of Els has a creature known as the Red-Eyed Echigan. Eddie gives Tara the exam answers when he gets them from Shikamaru and Niji without them noticing. The little Uzumaki is struggling on Naruto's table because he failed to complete his tests. Blackfire saw him while he took his test. She thought he didn't write anything, but then she saw the expression the Hyuga girl was giving him. This girl is worried about him. "I wonder why," she asked herself. "I should let Garfield-sensei know." Ibiki declared, "You're caught cheating, you're out," as he dragged a chubby kid wearing a black cloak, jeans, and unshaven orange hair. Trying to let go, he screamed, "Wait. No, I didn't cheat. This exam is an outrage. I had everything under my control." However, the Chunin were too powerful for his squad. The overweight ninja's partner snarled, "Way to go, you damn control freak," as they exited the examination room. "Alright, listen up. If you feel like giving up now, raise your hand now if you don't want the stress to overtake you," Ibiki says, still standing as the Chunin take away those who were caught cheating. He observes that the majority of the genin are still staring at their papers. "It's been long, looks like I'll have to change tactics." By this point, Garfield had let go of his old friends and was standing next to his best friend and lover, watching his secret nephew like a hawk, just like he used to do when he was still in the hidden shadow villages Anbu. As he observed the boy, he noticed how anxious he appeared to be and how he appeared to be on the verge of a breakdown. Why would he be nervous, he asked himself. The man had a horrible thought: what if Naruto was never told about his parents? A Uzumaki has nothing to fear from a Chunin exams, he thought. Or, for that matter, taught. "Hey Asuma, what's the deal with the blonde kid from your village? He looks like he's about to snap," the blonde guy said, turning from his nephew to the son of the current Hokage. The guy replied, "The kid's the dead last of his graduating academy class. It doesn't surprise me that he's so nervous. He doesn't want to fail and have that hold him back from his dream of being the Hokage." When Asuma noticed that the resident Jinchuriki was sighing. "The Hokage? That's a big dream," Garfield said, squinting his eyes in disgust. "So I was right, Naruto could not be the dead last if he was properly trained or knew about his inheritance." "Who's the kid sensei?" Garfield asked. Asuma spoke to the blonde guy. "Kakashi is." The same with the last Uchiha and Counselor Hana's own daughter, Garfield murmured to himself, Kainashi-san. That's a surprise. You think a kid trained by Kainashi would be at least mid-Chunin level by now, he said. Knowing that Kakashi had blamed Naruto Uzumaki for his sensei's death and continues to do so, even if he didn't intend to do so, Asuma mumbled, yeah, you'd think, focusing more on Sasuke than Sakura or Naruto. So if this Kakashi barely trains him, does he put his focus on his other students? Raven inquired. Mostly he has eyes on Sasuke, says Kurenai. He barely trains the Hirano's girl since she does nothing but stay pretty, but girls like her only join to be ninjas not just because of the civilian council's demands, but they're just, what do kids call it, thirsty, for Sasuke, who doesn't seem to show any interest in them, thirsty. Is that what kids are calling it these days? Richard inquired bewilderedly. Raven questioned, kids these days with their slang, right Garfield-kun? However, her hidden lover's thoughts are on his secret nephew, following Asuma's advice. What the devil on earth is happening? Kushina-chan, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, Garfield thought, his fists clenched as he watched his nephew struggle. The final question is the deciding factor for those who wish to pass. At this point, some genin teams depart, and Ibiki threatens to make them genins forever if they don't write down the final response. Both Naruto and Sasuke were unaware of the answer to the final question, just as Sakura was. Hinata was about to give Naruto her paper when he declined, telling her in a whisper his reasons, which shocked Blackfire. So the kid refuses to cheat, she thought, because she and her sister are pretty smart as future kunoichis, so they didn't have to cheat like the other genins. Later, when Naruto raised his hand, she thought he was going to give up, but he slammed it on his test paper while glaring at Ibiki and telling him that even if he's going to be a genin, he's no quitter, and I think the others are realizing it as well. Ibiki informed the surviving pupils, to the 78 that remained, congratulations, you've passed. Stephanie said, we passed. Just like that? Sakura questioned him, but what about the 10th question? Ibiki informed them, there was no 10th question, while outlining the rationale for this exam. Garfield remarked, whoa, plot twist. He was taken aback by the way the exams proceeded. Richard said, so it was just to test their skills on gathering information in secret, finding it strange that some of the Chunins were not caught cheating. Clever, very clever, he said. As the blonde Namikaze laughed, Raven questioned, and I wonder what's going to happen next. Garfield responded, hell, those kids are going to get hell, but he soon began to worry about Naruto and the upcoming exam phase. Raven questioned, what makes you say that, as she sensed a woman leaping at the classroom wall. Garfield grinned to himself and hummed, because that lady feels sadistic, maybe a little hell is good for the kids. The Jounin watched as the classroom wall exploded and smoke filled the room once more. Everyone was perplexed, with the exception of Kurenai, who was aware of the identity of the proctor for the second round of the Chunin exams. A huge white scroll appeared through the smoke, and what it said deeply chilled Namikaze Jounin. Garfield muttered, Hebeheim, with astonishment and no hint of fondness. Raven remarked, Hebeheim. So this is the girl you always spoke about, as the smoke cleared and a purple-haired woman emerged, grinning cockily but carelessly. Geez, you must be getting soft in your old age, Ibiki, 26 team still in the exams, not a good sign, Enko said, quickly scanning the room and noticing the large number of genins still present. In her mind, she frowned, but on the outside, she smiled like a snake, eager to have some fun and eliminate as many teams as possible. And you're early again, Anko, Ibiki said sardonically, staring blankly at the woman. Or maybe this exam's batch of genins are better than we expected, he said. Rubbing the back of her head, Anko grinned and said, what can I say, I got excited. Roy, Connor, Wally, Tim, and Eddie all thought, wow, this chick is hot. Stephanie, Tara, Blackfire, and the other girls could sense the male genin's lust and gave them irritated looks. Why is she wearing that outfit? Tara and Stephanie pondered, her attire appeals to me, Blackfire grinned to herself. Alright, for each and every one of you survived the stress of the first phase of the exams, it's time to get to the second phase of the exams once I cut you all in half in this part of the test, Anko said as she raised her arms over her chest covered in fishnets. Hope you're prepared because we're going to the forest of death. Death Forest? With a chill down his spine, Naruto thought, and Sakura and Sasuke shared this feeling, sensing that something horrible was about to occur at the forest of death. Now that the second exam is approaching and the test takers are standing in front of the gate that opens up onto a sizable portion of a forest, welcome to the second phase of the exam, Practice Area 44, also known as the Forest of Death, said Anko. Wally says, creepy place, yeah, this beats our training grounds in the Hidden Shadows Village, Eddie responded. The Shadow Village? That's right, Gaki. There is no such thing as an ally in this forest. Well, you could, but there would be nothing to stop you or them from betraying the other, Anko thought, recalling her first love and old crush's statement that he was visiting from the Hidden Shadow Village. From here on out it will be only you and your teams, pitted against one another, the less experienced genin continued to murmur and whisper among themselves. Naruto said in shock, what? So we can't even trust our own friends. Anko said, Gaki, there are no such things as friends in the forest of death, projecting a threatening image. Once you all go in, few will make it out, she continued. As he let his confidence to run amok, Naruto sneered, Pesht. That's not scary at all. Despite his comrades' attempts to stop him, he persisted. As a kunai whizzed past him and sliced his left cheek, Naruto went completely still. The woman then disappeared from view and licked his cut cheek from behind. I bet I see a dash, Anko purred, you taste good, frightening everyone and infuriating two particular girls. Shame really, loud-mouthed chumps like you, always die first in the forest of death, Anko said. Garfield, who was observing everything from a distance, groaned but continued to grin as he saw his nephew play with the first female he liked who was in his age range. Well, she seems, deadpanned Rachel. What did Garfield think? Sadistic? Raven shrugged and said, I was going to say different, but I guess if you want to be blunt about it, concerned about his brother, Richard inquired, you think they'll be all right on their own in there? Don't worry, Richard-san, have faith in our students, Garfield reassured him. Besides, no one actually dies in the forest of death, really? Dick inquired. The more Garfield revealed the unsettling details about various incidents that occurred in the forest of death, the more Richard and Raven became concerned about their genin. Huh, I guess people do die in the forest of death. Well, looks like they'll need some luck, with Wally's speed, Connor's strength, and Starfire's and Blackfire's durability, I'm sure they'll be fine, he said. Sure, unless you count what happened to that kid years ago that went in on a dare and a bunch of rabid squirrels ate him, then that time two drunk shinobis snuck inside and got plowed by some bears, and let's not forget what happened to that grave digger, we're worried after listening to what you mentioned. With tears in their eyes, Richard and Raven pondered, your task is a no-rules scroll battle, where your teams will be carrying these two scrolls of heaven and earth, Anko stated as the teams were given each of the scrolls. Each teams will be fighting over the scrolls, 26 of you, meaning half of you will get the scroll, 13 gets the heaven scroll, while the other 13 gets the earth scroll. To pass the test, each team must get to the tower with both scrolls. The time limit is 120 hours, 5 days, 5 days, cried Ino. Choji questioned, but what about food? Wally said, I'm with this guy, I have major metabolism, since he didn't want to starve. You're on your own, just be aware of man-eating bears, poisonous snakes, and bugs, Anko cautioned them with a shrug. The woodland is home to tigers. Fearfully, Stephanie thought, so don't lose a teammate, only 13 teams have any chance to survive, no quitting, and whatever you do not look into the scroll, that's disqualification, Anko stated before adding, also if you're lucky, don't die. Wally asked, can we go now or what? Before we begin, you will all fill out the form on that table and each team will receive one scroll, Anko said, ignoring the boy and pointing to a small space with a large table, a large stack of papers, and a roll of scrolls. The form you will fill out excludes both myself and the Hidden Leaf Village from any responsibilities if you were to die, he said. Sakura and Ino simultaneously yelled, die, before glaring and staring at each other. As she looked at the two female ninjas with disgusted embarrassment, Anko reiterated, yes, die, this won't be a cakewalk and once this round starts, it will be every team for themselves. As the purple-haired woman mentioned each team for themselves, Wally Namikaze boasted, I'm not scared. Wally Namikaze runs from nobody. He knew that some people from Kyumo and IWA hated his exiled uncle, but he was very proud of his clan and loved to show it off as much as he could. This made everyone, but especially Naruto, look at him in shock and shame. Namikaze. All those who were unaware were in utter disbelief. I wonder how a Namikaze is connected to the Yamdame Hokage. As he ranked Wally above Naruto on his list of opponents to face, Sasuke pondered. Is he connected to the Hokage of Yamdame? Does he, like everyone else, blame me? As he moved away from the red-headed lad and hid behind his two comrades, Naruto asked himself, is he here to kill me? This movement was not missed on Sasuke, Blackfire, Terra, Anko, or even Wally, who scowled at his cousin's fear of him. The blonde boy had lost his confidence. Is Garfield returning? As Anko's heart began to race and her stomach began to swirl in squares and triangles, she thought, why does he appear scared of me? If he's heard of me and is aware that I'm related to the Yamdame, he should be happy to see me, Wally inquired, mentally noting that something wasn't right and that the others were aware of it as well. Naruto, Sasuke said to the brunette, quit hiding behind your teammate, it's disgraceful in front of others, if you plan on cowarding away, then don't get in my way, I'm not afraid, and I'll prove it by going to the forest of death. Naruto scowls as he looks directly at Sasuke. Good, he said, turning back to face the young Namikaze. If that guy is the Namikaze, then he and his team are our enemies, Sasuke said of him. Wally-san, Terra said in a worried whisper, as his partner glanced at Naruto. Connor questioned, what do you think, Eddie-san? Eddie caressed the kanji tattoo on his forearm and remarked, I can sense anxiety from him. The boy is determined but I can sense great fear from him, I wonder if he'll make it without death looming him, he muttered, his eyes briefly turning crimson, almost demotic. As each team receives one of the scrolls, the genins quickly sign the waivers. Team members then battle the other teams, some are fiercely determined, some are arrogant, and some look at Team 7 and decide to target the dead last. Others look at Wally and his team, some are afraid of him, while others want to face him. As she saw each of the 26 teams that received their individual scroll, Enko said, "Okay, you all signed up and got your scrolls? Great, let the exams begin." The genins then proceed into the forest. May Kami have pity on their spirits. The second round of the Chunin exams was held at Training Area 44, also known as the Forest of Death, to the residents of the Hidden Leaf Village. Teams from all over the elemental nations assembled there to test their genins, including those from rival villages and alleys. It was there that we saw a Hidden Light team compete against a Hidden Stone team. Unfortunately for Roy Harper, only one stone shinobi was struck by the jutsu when he unleashed his 100 arrow jutsu on the IWA team for the Heaven Scroll. The other two managed to avoid the large amount of chakra arrow, but they were unable to avoid the archer's teammates. Timothy and Stephanie easily defeated the other two stone ninjas and took the Earth Scroll in procession. Stephanie congratulated her teammates and gave them high fives, saying, "We got ourselves an Earth Scroll, good job, team." Holding out the Earth Scroll, Roy retorted, "Only the first hour and we already grabbed out second scroll." Tim informed the archer ninja, "You are in charge of our scrolls from now on, Roy." Thus the group headed toward the big tower in the middle of the forest. They had only been inside for 47 minutes, and already one of the teams was prepared to play. "I've never heard of a ninja who can shoot beams out of their eyes," and Leaf Genin, who was covered in bruises and scorch scars, muttered feebly. This guy's just too strong. What is this creature?" he pondered as he lay down, facing Connor's sandals. The powerful lad cast an irritated glance down at his opponent. "These guys were just too easy," Tara said with a sly smile while swinging her finger around a metal plate band. "I just love it when I get down and dirty, don't you agree, Ed Cohen?" she asked, perched on a stone pillar that appeared to have grown out of the earth. The three genins were too weak to resist the genjutsu and began to scream in pain as their skin began to boil and burn from the black and red flames that consumed their cooked flesh. "Yeah," Eddie replied, "you've always been a tomboy, Tara-chan." His eyes were pure red, with a black iris and red narrow pupils. Connor complained, "These guys are chumps," before pulling out the Earth Scroll and giving it to Tara, who was holding the newly acquired Heaven Scroll. "This was just too easy for us, these genins lacked the bloodlines that the Leaf Village is so famous for," he said. Tara responded, "Yeah, what the Leaf Village thinking? Recruiting and graduating such weaklings, while daydreaming about Garfield and her sensei Raven. Garfield sensei and Raven sensei are gonna be so proud of me for making it this far." Tara added. Connor and Eddie deadpanned, "What about us?" Tara blushed and giggled, "What about you?" As he leaped and guided his group to the spot where he last sensed his cousin's chakra, Wally said, "Let's go find Naruto now." As she flew rather than jumped like her sister and partner, Starfire remarked, "Yeah. I can't wait to see our new friends again." Blackfire continued, "Let's just get this over with, I want to be the first team to make it to the tower," choosing to follow her human teammates' lead and leap from branch to branch. Wally grinned at the girl with the black hair and said, "Yeah, let's not do that, I want to spend some time with my Shuki-ai." "No, definitely not," Blackfire said, squinting at the redhead. "I understand that our goal is to approach the midget, but simply remaining with them could raise suspicions. But Sasuke-kun, Naruto-kun, and Sakura-chan are so nice, surely they will welcome us with open arms," Starfire said with a radiant smile as she looked up at her older sister. Blackfire chose not to say anything that would make her cry because she wasn't in the mood for it. The midget might, but not the others, she said, rolling her eyes at her younger sister's tendency toward trust. What do you mean, Kuro-chan? Wally inquired of the oldest relative. Well, from what I've heard and seen about the midget's teammates, began Blackfire, Pinky is just totally in love with the Uchiha and doesn't really care about anything or anyone but him, and that includes Naruto. She even ended some friendship for the Uchiha, and speaking of him, the Uchiha has some dark emotions radiating off him. I know you've sensed it too, sister. A worried Starfire watched as she answered her sister. I do, dear sister. I felt a darkness from Sasuke-kun when he gave Connor-kun that icy glare earlier. Something must have happened to him to be this way, and I wish to help him, but what should I do? Wally smiled at the two and said, well, you know what they say, yesterday's enemy are tomorrow's friend. We could use the power of friendship to help them, he said. Blackfire rolled her eyes and remarked, Wally, that is the most stupid thing you have ever said. This is real life, not something out of those stupid manga that you always read, she stated. Starfire had the same idea as the red-haired heir. Could she try to make friends with Sasuke? Absolutely, I will be Sasuke's best friend for life. With a determined thought, for nearly 30 minutes, the team searched for their target and found nothing. As their spirits began to wane a little, the red-haired boy felt the chakra signature that he recognized as belonging to his cousin. The team had fallen into a comfortable silence as they scanned the forest for any movement, and the Namikaze heir was using his senior abilities to feel out for his secret cousin. Wally said, I found him, as he leaped to his right and accelerated after sensing an odd and incredibly strong chakra near his location. About time, Blackfire wrote impatiently. Starfire inquired, do you feel Sasuke-kun and Sakura-chan? Wally said, no, he's by himself, but then again I don't know their signature yet, sensing their approach. It took the three of them 2 minutes to get to the blonde's location, but as they did, the red-haired boy sensed another chakra signature, and it didn't feel human or peaceful. They landed in a clearing and saw the orange-wearing boy stumble out of some bushes, his hair in disarray, and something sticky on his clothes. Wally sensed the non-human signature approaching and deduced that it was going toward his cousin. Wally said, Naruto. Look out, but it was too late, and they all watched as the blonde youngster was sucked whole by a massive snake. "No!" he exclaimed in anger as he leaped at the snake he thought had just killed his cousin. "That snake isn't your typical one." As her hands turned a deep purple, Blackfire said, "I'm ready to destroy this serpent and, if I can, save my teacher's nephew." She floated, frozen, too shocked to move as she felt the entire front of her body covered in the slimy substance, but before she could even approach it, the snake let out a cry of pain just before it exploded, sending pieces of its body flying everywhere and covering the girl in the same substance as the blonde boy, along with a few smaller pieces of snake meat in her silky black hair. "Really? Once more, I was eaten," Naruto exclaimed as he tried to shake himself dry, "and it kind of worked, this sucks. And more snake is present." Wally screamed as he leaped for his cousin, but the snake was much closer on the other side of the clearing. Fortunately, a specific black-haired girl was even closer. This time, Naruto had chosen to jump back in an effort to dodge the snake, but he was unaware of his surroundings and leaped back into a large tree first. "Shit!" he swore as he saw the snake approaching more and more closely and became too terrified to move, adding, "I'm going to die." A purple explosion halted the snake in its tracks as it was only a few feet away from him, causing it to scream in agony. "What was that?" cried Naruto in shock as two more explosions sent the reptile reeling back and one of the shadow shinobi floating into view, hovering before him and her hands covered in globes of a dark purple light or something. He said, without thinking, that the young and daring shadow Kunoichi was very beautiful, floating between him and the snake that was going to eat him. The young Uzumaki could only see the back of the girl's body, but he couldn't take his eyes off her. Her hair fluttered in the wind, her muscular body was visible beneath her uniform, and the light around her hands shimmered and moved constantly, captivating him. "Black fire," he said. A red flash flashed off to his right, but he didn't see it coming because his secret cousin grabbed him and he quickly disappeared, leaving the Tamaranian to battle the serpent alone. He was shaken out of his funk as the red-haired Tamaranian reappeared with Wally, not noticing the black-haired beauty in front of him. "What? Blackfire, where are you?" he asked himself as he looked around and quickly found her facing off against the snake. "We need to aid her." He prepared to leap to her aid. "No, hold on. Watch this, see the power of the hidden shadow village," Wally insisted, refusing to let him leave. The snake tried to frighten the girl by lunging at her and hissing loudly. Blackfire wasn't scared. In fact, the hiss made her more than prepared for battle, and she hurled herself at the obnoxious giant reptile, saying, "Die." Before using her greater strength to pull the snake by its jaw and toss it into a couple of trees, she yelled as she shot multiple star bolts at its face, causing it to shriek in agony. The blonde said, "Is this the power of the Shadow Village?" as he saw that her eyes blazed a brilliant purple. Naruto watched in disbelief as the slender but still muscular girl manhandled the big snake and used her unique skills, powers that greatly perplexed him. "Wow," he said. The three observed as the dark-haired girl began to press her attack and strike the snake with volley after volley of her purple starbolts. Smoke formed and filled the area where the snake was, and as the smoke and dust cloud grew larger and larger, they were unable to see the snake but could still hear its agonized cries echoing throughout the forest. Wally saw the summoner disappear in a cloud of smoke, and he felt his spirits rise as he said, "It's gone." The redhead cried out. The loud shout brought Naruto back to reality, and he turned to see that the shadow genin he recalled was a member of the Namikaze. The blonde didn't know why the Namikaze was with him, so he retreated a few steps. "Hi, Naruto. I'm very happy to hear that you'll be okay." With a smile on his face, Wally greeted his cousin. "Just so you know, I don't have the scroll with me," Naruto said defensively, wondering if this was a way for the Namikaze clan to kill him and exact revenge on the Yondaime Hokage. Since he had always been held responsible for the deaths of everyone involved in the Kyuubi attack, and particularly for the Yondaime Hokage's death, it didn't seem like a long shot for someone from the Namikaze clan to come all the way to kill him. "Well, are you going to kill me? What would make me murder you? Anyway, do you have the Heaven Scroll or the Earth Scroll?" Wally inquired, tilting his head and crossing his arms over his chest. "Because if you wish, we have an extra Earth Scroll," he said, reaching around his jacket, but missing the scroll. "Where are they?" "I believed I had them." "Did you think you would have actually put the scrolls on your person instead of placing them in a seal?" Blackfire said, sighing, as she showed the air her wrist. "I got them," she said. As smoke briefly obscured the girl's wrist, Naruto watched in disbelief as the red-haired boy reached for the sign and then took 3 scrolls from it. "What was that?" The blonde inquired in astonishment. He had never seen anything like that before, but he felt drawn to whatever the boy had just done. "I want to do that," he thought with delight, virtually drooling. Wally responded, "It's Fuinjutsu," hoping that whatever had scared his cousin would soon come to an end at the exhibition of the lesser-known shinobi art. "Here you have it." As he handed the final scroll to the blonde child after resealing the other two, he remarked, "And you will simply hand it to me? Fuinjutsu. I'll need to remember that one," said Naruto, lowering his guard a little as he gazed at the paper in bewilderment. Obviously. As he gave the scroll to the blonde Uzumaki and grinned broadly at him, Wally answered, "Why are you doing this? I don't understand." As he raised his guard again and attempted to keep the three light shinobi within his line of sight, Naruto realized that the dark-haired girl was gone. He backed up and discovered her as he backed into her, causing him to leap to the side and his hand to shake slightly. "Because we're kind individuals." The red-haired girl promptly concurred with Wally's exclamation, causing the blonde guy to turn to face the dark-haired sister. Blackfire said, "I have nothing better to do," as she threw her arms across her chest and averted her gaze in frustration, making the faint red blush on her cheeks invisible. "Oh okay," Naruto said, taking the scroll and putting it in his pocket. Wally began, "We should find your T-dash," but stopped when a large, dark chakra swept over him, causing him to shudder and choke a little. "What is that?" Blackfire shivered as well and inquired, "I don't know, but it's coming from over there," Wally said, straining to focus on ignoring the emotion. "I left Sakura and Sasuke there," Naruto shouted as he dashed in the direction of his friends, with the other one trailing behind him, Anko-senpai. "In the bushes, we discovered a corpse. The body seems to be one of the grass kunoichi," one of the Chunin said, projecting his voice to the woman overseeing the second round of the Chunin exams. "What? Let me see." Anko called back as she headed to the location where the Chunin discovered the dead, which the nearby shadow jounins noted. "A corpse?" Dick said, "I should go look into this," as he trailed behind the Takubesta jounin. "Are you not joining us?" Raven halted her question when she saw the Namikaze jounin sporting glasses, a mustache, and a false bald cap. "Why are you dressed like that? Actually, when did you put that outfit on?" Garfield's tone wavered nervously as he responded, "I'm not ready to meet Anko-chan yet. If she asked, my name is Masashi Kishimoto." Raven deadpanned, like anyone's going to fall for that, as she sensed a dark chakra energy emanating from the jungle. "Did you sense that?" she asked him as she shuddered at the most heinous and malevolent aura she had ever experienced. Garfield narrowed his eyes and said, "Yeah, I did," looking toward the trees. "I hope nothing is happening to our students, especially Naruto and Sasuke. If so, Kushina and Mikoto would come back to life and kick my ass." Raven and Garfield, Masashi, went to where the other Leaf Shinobi had gathered around the body. Dick had already joined them, but even he was unsure of what to make of the faceless girl or why only one of the three team members had been killed. The clan heir stood behind the Leaf Shinobi and considered the possibilities as his two friends joined him, not caring that his best friend was wearing a wig or anything else. Raven was bothered by the faceless girl, but she was more concerned with her boyfriend, who was standing to her right. She wanted to slap him silly before tearing the disguise off his head and face, but she knew that he felt that it was necessary. The purple-haired woman was the only person Anko knew who would do such a thing, so she backed away in a shiver of horror. "No way," she said. Garfield looked at the dead girl and asked himself, why is Hibiheim so afraid? Sakura and Sasuke had no idea what had occurred. 1 second, they had run into a foreign genin who was pretending to be Naruto, and the next thing they knew, they were facing another genin with a dark, cold, and terrible desire to kill. As his legs trembled in terror, Sasuke wondered, what is she? The grass genin cooed, good, good, you're paralyzed in fear, as she cast a drab glance at the two-leaf genin. She watched as her Uchiha prize struggled to stand up, and the pink-haired one started crying in terror. How disappointing, I was expecting a challenge, she said, selecting two kunais while keeping a close eye on Sasuke. I'm not scared. Sasuke bit out, shaking holding a kunai in a defensive position. I'm a Uchiha. A member of the elite. The female genin began, poor little child, before disappearing and then resurfacing directly behind the youngster with the black hair. Itachi was an elite, you. As the Uchiha heir fiddled with his kunai, the genin cooed in the boy's ear before disappearing once more. In shock, Sakura muttered, "She's so fast." Sasuke was furious that the genin wasn't paying attention to him and thought, "She's playing with me." He had to use his Sharingan to try to level the playing field. "Such pretty Sharingans," the foreign genin said with a sly grin as she appeared on a limb a few yards distant. Flaring his chakra, the young Uchiha heir directed all of his animosity toward his older brother toward the black-haired girl, and Sasuke suppressed a growl upon realizing that the girl was not even slightly frightened of him or his lineage. "Coo coo 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 coo," the girl said with a wicked laugh as she easily dismissed the Uchiha heir's murderous intent before letting out her own and aiming it all at the two genin. Sakura did not handle it as well. She was now face down in the soil, trembling like a leaf, and drifting into oblivion. Sasuke began to choke as his lungs simply seemed to quit working, causing him to fall to his knees as he tried to breathe. As she pulled out a long, blood-stained dissecting knife, the girl hissed, "Yeesus," and smiled evilly at the two genin that fell to her so easily. Now, your suffering will end soon," she said. "Now you too, I'll start with you my dear Sasuke, I'll end your suffering soon once I take over your body." "It's no use," Sasuke thought, attempting to remain conscious while suffering from the desire to kill. The girl approached him, grabbed his face, and pinned him to the ground before raising the knife above his eye. "Now let's Begaini dash." The girl was abruptly interrupted when shurikens were hurled at her chest, forcing her to retreat from the Uchiha. She was then struck in the chest by a green blast, which sent her tumbling backwards onto the ground. "Who the hell interrupted me? Isn't that the Uzumaki boy?" she asked herself, glancing at the blonde Uzumaki in front of Wally's team and his friends. "And with him are," the woman with the dark hair said, frowning at the redhead in front of her. "A Namikaze, this just got interesting," she said. He couldn't believe what he was thinking, but for the moment, he was relieved to see his blonde teammate. "Naruto," Sasuke thought weakly as he forced himself to stand again. "But there's no way that Dobe's going to take her down." Naruto grabbed Sakura, and run as far away from here. "Who is that with him, I wonder?" Wally ordered. "Kuro-chan, Star-chan, take Sasuke and Sakura out of here and head down to the stream we've passed through," as Blackfire and Starfire helped Sakura and Sasuke before they attempted to flee but were stopped by the foreign girl. Wally could hardly bear to be this close to the girl because he could feel the darkness emanating from her. The grass genin came up in front of the sisters and said, "You aren't going anywhere." Feeling that the genin in front of them wasn't who she seemed to be, Blackfire reminded him, "Wally, that girl is too dangerous to fight. It'll be better if you grabbed Naruto as we all escaped." Before the Namikaze heir could respond, Naruto replied, "Sorry, Blackfire." The heir could sense his rage growing and screamed, "I won't let him get away with hurting my friends." "Naruto," Wally thought startledly. She ripped down her sleeve and revealed a seal. "Coo coo coo, this just got even more interesting," the girl remarked, biting her thumb and spreading it across her seal. "Summoning Jutsu," she shouted out, calling forth a large snake. You want to get serious? I'll make you regret ever facing me, she added. Snakes! Wally cried out, recalling that only 2 individuals had the ability to call forth snakes, and that one of them was the Sannin Orochimaru. You're Orochimaru, he cried, trembling, and taking a step back, and the dark-haired girl on his squad followed suit. What? Blackfire gasped when she understood that she had no chance of winning along with her sister and team leader. Orochi what? Who's that? Murmured Naruto. I don't know what they teach you in this village's academy, but they should have warned you about this guy. He's known to kidnap people and experiment on them. Blackfire exclaimed in shock, how can you not heard of Orochimaru? How could this midget be unaware of the insane Sannin? That guy is a psychopath. He was once a shinobi for your village and is one of the great Sannin. Naruto's eyes widened in alarm. What? Is he that bad? Wally retreated and said, dude, this guy experiments on people just for eternal life. We gotta get out of here. Orochimaru said, oh. I thought you were all going to fight me, coo, as he peeled the skin off the woman's face, which is now the pale-faced Sannin. My cover's blown, and now you'll die, he said, as his enormous snake swung around, striking Starfire to the ground while Sasuke remained in her arms. Blackfire said, sister, before turning to face the Sannin. You bastard, she said. Orochimaru turned his head sideways and grinned eerily. Come now, children, there's no need to run away from me, he said, extending his long tongue. I can be your friend, he said. Then everything changed. A large fist struck Snake Sannin in the face, sending him flying backward and through a number of trees before collapsing and drooping into a tree's base some 15 yards distant. What was that? Orochimaru rubbed his cheek and wondered for a moment if her old friend was in the forest. Fortunately, he knew that wasn't the case. As he stood with his team and the other 2 teams, Connor smirked and questioned, not so tough are you? You're nothing compared to the House of L, he said. House of L. A Genin team from the Shadow Village has never been in a Chunin exams before. I wonder what happened to change that, Orochimaru pondered in disbelief as he realized why the teenage kid was just as strong as his former comrade. He stood up again, opening his chakra. Raven questioned, feeling ill to her stomach and sensing the malevolent presence in the trees. Do you sense that? Both of his fellow Jounin's eyes widened as Garfield snarled, I know exactly who that is. Orochimaru. Richard muttered, that's not good, fearing for his team. Raven deadpanned, no it's not, we need to do something. The pale-skinned man saw the long-haired boy's eyes turn black as the white-haired boy blinked, changing his black eyes to amethyst ones. That boy has some demotic powers, but he's no Bijou, but something else, Orochimaru thought as he made the decision to continue placing the cursed seal of heaven on his selected vessel. Orochimaru retreated, facing Connor, Terra, and Eddie. Terra yelled, watch out! As the 3 dodged the taijutsu, but Orochimaru took advantage of their evasion to run past them and head for Sasuke, which the blonde girl saw right away. Oh no you don't. Earth style, aftershock stomp. She yells as she stomps on the ground, causing a rumble in which a pillar raises Sasuke up, and another hits Orochimaru's head, causing him to retrace it toward his body. However, the head stretches back up towards Sasuke as Terra leaps up around the trees to charge at the head. Gotcha! She exclaims, grabbing him by the neck, causing Orochimaru to growl. As he charged at the blonde, Orochimaru snarled, "Damn you," and sank his teeth into her neck, placing the cursed seal of heaven just below the young blonde's collarbone. Terra let out an agonized "ah" before collapsing to the woodland floor due to the intense pain radiating through her body. Raven cried out, "Terra," as she grasped her head in agony and collapsed to her knees. Sensing her students suffering from beyond the jungle, Raven. Garfield cried in disbelief before bending over and embracing his lover. "Raven. What's wrong?" he said. As she was held in her boyfriend's arms, Raven screamed in agony, "It's Terra. It's Terra." Something happened, she whispered, but the pain vanished as soon as it arrived. She stood up with her boyfriend by her side, clearing her head of any confusion. "She needs me," the demon added, flicking her hand to open a portal. "No," Garfield said, drawing her in closer till she growled. Raven growled, "Get off me." Garfield insisted, "No. You can't go, or Terra and her team will get disqualified," which infuriated the anxious woman. Raven responded, "I don't care," as she attempted to escape her lover's hold. "You do care. That's the problem here." Dick responded, "While we all care about our genins, we can't just keep babying them when they stumble and fall," Raven said angrily, "but they're up against that monster," as the blonde girl's agony shook her. "Don't worry, Raven," Garfield reassured the woman with the purple hair. Anko and an ANBU squad are pursuing Orochimaru. As her partner rocked her back and forth in his arms, Raven questioned, "What if it's too late?" As they gazed off into the distance at the forest of death, Garfield assured her, "I'm sure they will escape, I promise you. Connor, Starfire, and Blackfire are strong, Wally's fast, and Eddie's a boss." Connor snarled, "You snake. House of L, Ice Release, Frozen Blizzard Jutsu." The burly adolescent encased the Sannin in a block of ice, huffing and blowing a stream of cold air at him. "Wally, Eddie, Whiskers, you three pick up the others and get out of here," he said. Wally and Naruto simultaneously denied, "No way." Eddie concurred with the two genin, saying, "Yeah. We can't just abandon you." Connor retorted, smashing the block of ice with his right fist, leaving behind a lump of mud encircled by ice fragments. "Blackfire and I can handle this. You all need to escape, while you still can." Another mud clone. Orochimaru laughed and stepped out of the shadows to smile slyly at the genin. "Kukuku, you kids have forced me to use my Kusanagi," he said. "It's not necessary, but I don't have time to toy with you this time, nevertheless." "So what if he got a sword?" "My skin's too tough to be cut." Connor yelled at Orochimaru, who vanished into the earth before he could strike him. Because of his strength and strong bloodline chakra, Connor L is a formidable powerhouse on his team, but not as strong as his father, the clan head of the House of L. However, because the House of L is powered by the sun and the area of the forest lacks sunlight due to the large branches and trees, there is also a drawback for the short-haired boy, and the snake summoner managed to cut his side, AAGH, he thought. Connor L is known to avoid using weapons like shurikens, kunais, or military pills. Wally, Blackfire, and Eddie all yell, "Connor," simultaneously. "Oh, so you do bleed," Orochimaru said with a broad smile while licking the blood from his sword. The House of L are known to be unstoppable and superior to strength, skin that is as durable as steel. "You boy, are you perhaps, born with only parts of those genes, a half-breed perhaps," he said calmly and sadistically. Connor yelled, "Shut up!" As Orochimaru abruptly kneeled him in the stomach and stabbed him through the chest, but not near the heart. Blackfire exclaimed, "You son of a bitch," as he charged at Orochimaru, but the snake Sannin ducked and knocked her unconscious with a single blow. Blackfire had had enough of this game and needed to. "I've never seen a girl like you who can fly," Orochimaru said, his tongue protruding. Without turning, he grabbed Wally's and Eddie's fists and flipped them over before slamming their heads into the ground. "You think all of you can stop me? A Sannin? Know your places!" He yelled as he pulled out his Kusanagi, glancing around at the still-standing Naruto and the knocked-out teenagers. "Now, which one should I kill first?" he asked, surveying the area. "Hey, you freak!" yelled Naruto as he leaped into the air and Orochimaru stabbed him from above. However, Naruto vanished in a cloud of smoke, revealing a clone jutsu. "Over here," the blonde exclaimed, punching Snake Sannin in the face, causing him to fall backwards but leaving his legs on the ground. "I'll make you pay for hurting them. You hear me, you son of a bitch!" The blonde yelled in rage, but the vile man laughed, asking, "What's so funny?" Orochimaru mockingly said, "Look around you, boy, you are all alone," waving his hands to indicate that every genin was on the ground, some of them unconscious and others simply too exhausted or injured to stand. "You bastard!" snarled the blonde boy, who clenched his fists and glared at the long black-haired man. Naruto was shocked by the state of everyone, especially Starifer, Sasuke, Wally, Connor, and Blackfire. His gaze was unexpectedly drawn to Blackfire's pained face and how difficult it was for her to look up at him. "Make use of my might. Kill him." A snarling, dark voice growled in the boy's head. "And let me go," the voice said, obstructing the blonde human's final statement. "Never. Your power will never be used by me. I don't require it." Despite Naruto's efforts to fend off the power surge, the red chakra continued to flood his chakra channels and whistle around his body. "Do it. You know you have no other choice in the matter," the dark voice said angrily as his cage shook. "Without my power, you and your allies will perish." "She will die without my power," said the voice, which sounded like it was smiling. "Aya! Die!" roared Naruto as he leaped toward the snake Sannin, his entire body encircled by the red chakra of the gigantic Kyubi Kitsune. Orochimaru thought, interesting, the Kyubi Jinchikuri, as he effortlessly evaded the small blonde boy's clawed attacks. "Even with the fox's power, you are still weak," he mocked, but he became slightly alert as he felt his former student and the ANBU getting closer and the boy was about to sprout a second tail of red chakra. "Enough is enough," he added as he went through the hand signs, wind style, wing barrier, despite Naruto missing every cut and slash because the more experienced and faster man easily avoided everyone and only felt irritated at yet another person in his path. The man said, "You lose," as he tilted his wrist, added tiny chakra to the tips of his fingers, and raised his shirt to reveal the seal that keeps the nine tails at bay. The blonde genin had been blasted away into a tree and was about to jump back to his feet when he felt something wrapping around his neck. Naruto, Blackfire fought to stand up, unable to see what the creep was doing to him. Her wounded and embarrassment simply prevented her from moving, recalling memories of her and her sister's past. "You bitch! Komi! No! Get out of my sight, you two are weak, I'll be on my way now, good luck passing the exams children, until we meet again," the Sannin said as he sank into the ground and reappeared next to the Uchiha here before giving him the cursed seal of heaven before disappearing. Black fire broke down in silence as Orochimaru finished sealing Naruto's seal with his own. Raven shivered as she whispered, "He's gone," in her boyfriend's embrace. Garfield asked, "Orochimaru?" Raven replied, "Orochimaru, the kids are safe, for now," feeling relieved that the genin no longer made her feel Orochimaru's presence. "When I see that snake, I will skin him alive for hurting Terra," Raven said. With a slender gaze, Dick answered, "Yeah, well, get in line, Orochimaru will be facing justice by my hands, our hands," replied Garfield. 5 days in the forest of death, let's pray to Kami-sama that these kids make it out alive." The next 5 days were a cakewalk when compared to fighting and getting owned by the one and only Orochimaru. The teams had split up, Connor wanting to take Terra's and Wally's team and leave, but both Blackfire and Eddie refused to do so, the only conscious members on their own respective teams, so Sakura, Blackfire, Eddie, Connor and Tim carried the unconscious genin and made their way to the tower in the middle of the Forest of Death. On the same day, the teams were confronted by the genin team from the Sound Village, but the sheer force of numbers startled the Sound team, but didn't turn them away. The 4 teams fought and the female member of the Sound team was badly hurt and they were forced to retreat. During the fight both Sasuke and Terra had awakened and their curse marks were erupted with black flames on their flesh. During the fight while Sasuke was toying with the 2 male Sound ninja, Terra broke both of the female Sound shinobi's wrists and cackled madly as she did it, all the while, cursing the girl, saying how she wasn't worthy of being with Garfield and sharing him with Raven-sensei. Sakura and Roy were able to talk down their teammates as the others just watched in shock. Wally and the others then awoke, and Naruto revealed that he possessed both an Earth and a Heaven scroll. Terra and Connor had previously stated that Terra possessed both, but Connor still required a Heaven scroll. They did just that, obtaining the scroll from Leaf Village senior shinobi Kabuto. Over the course of the following day, the 3 teams traveled to the tower, during which time Wally, Blackfire, and Terra conversed with Naruto. According to what he had learned about them, Naruto was particularly fascinated by the 3. He had heard from Wally that the Namake's clan was well known for their lightning speed, which allowed them to teleport. The Uzumaki was shocked that the Yondaime had been exiled from his clan because he was unable to perform the lightning-type chakra, which gave them the ability to teleport. Terra is a member of a clan that specializes in earth jutsu because they can create earthquakes and landslides. Naruto didn't think it was particularly special until he saw that Terra could turn a rock into a diamond. Black fire is a mystery to him, so when he asked her and her sister, she replied that they aren't a part of any clan that ever existed that allowed them to fly because they are just born with the ability to do so. When he asked how, she would put her finger to close his lips while whispering in his ear that it's a secret in a flirtatious manner. Connor and Eddie would converse on the way to the tower while Sasuke would just stare at them. He does owe the teams his gratitude for saving him, Sakura, and Naruto from that creepy grass genin, who turned out to be the snake Sannin. Sasuke pondered what would happen if they didn't save their skins, and he demanded that Connor explain why he did so when he could have easily killed him and his team. Connor told him that those from the House of L are very honorable, and that they would fight in the exams, but at full strength. This caused Sasuke to reflect on the day before he was speaking to the red-haired shadow girl about his clan and the village as a whole, while Sakura was glaring at the 2, but mostly the red-haired girl. They soon came upon the tower, indicating that they had advanced to the 3rd stage, as they were greeted by 3 doors, each of which they could open. Naruto remarked, "Well, we're here," grinning like a fox. Wally said, "Looks like our gateway for the final exams are here," turning to face the Konoha genin. "Well, good luck, Naruto-san," he said. Naruto said, "You too, Wally," and gave him the thumbs up. Sasuke muttered, "Let's get in already," as he approached the door. Starfire nodded to the Uchiha youngster, who flushed at her and rushed inside, saying, "Good luck, friend Sasuke-kun." Blackfire whispered, "Later, Whiskers," as she and her sister trailed Wally inside. Connor said, "Yo, Uchiha-san," and Sasuke turned. "You're not half bad," he said. Sasuke said, "You too, can't wait to destroy you," as the three teams went into their separate test rooms to determine their respective scores. However, Sasuke and Terra are both itching from their cursed marks, and they sense that things will not be going well for them going forward. With a sigh of relief, Raven remarked, "Looks like they've survived the forest of death." Garfield put his hands in his pockets and said, "Yeah, but the third phase of the test is where it gets real brutal." He said, "I'm excited to see their expressions when they see our students' strength." The Sound and Sand Genins, as well as the two other Genin teams from the Honey Country, were among the many ninjas who had made it. Dick said, "Well, they may have passed through the forest, but here comes the hard part," as his concern for his students increased. The preliminary exam is going to start with 11 teams and 33 Genins. Before the Genin, the Hokage stood, an elderly man with his arms behind his back and his still alert eyes watching the 11 Genin teams. The Genin were all gathered in a tall room that was likely used only for the Chunin exams in the Leaf Village. The Jounin were all above the Genin, on the evaluation decks above them. Wally, Starfire, and Blackfire looked at Richard's team, who had appeared a little rough on their way to the tower. Then they saw the other team from the Land of Honey. One of them was a girl about Wally's age, with bubblegum pink hair and buns, pink eyes, and skin as pale as the moon. She was wearing a purple short top with long arm gloves, a short skirt, fishnets on her slim legs, and shinobi sandals. Behind her was a large, muscular boy with orange shaggy hair, tan skin, wearing a yellow and black tank top with metallic arm guards, black pants, and sandals. The last person behind them was a tall, slim boy with icy blue eyes, white spiky hair, and a dark blue t-shirt with a symbol that looked like an ice cube, blue sleeveless gloves, black shorts, and sandals. What was most strange about the last guy was that there was a trail of ice under his feet. Garfield, wearing sunglasses and a black mask over his face like Kakashi, couldn't help but stare at the Sound ninjas with suspicion as the Hokage explained the true purpose of the exams. He saw the Sound Jounin and kept his suspicions to himself, thinking, "Haven't seen this guy around." He watched Naruto as the Hokage spoke to the shinobi while some of the Genin gave their own looks about the upcoming exam, saying, "Not surprising, they have never knew the true purpose of the exams, can't believe that they have to fight each other." Raven thought, "This guy looks to be on deathbed," as she saw Terra scratching her shoulder. "Terra-chan, I hope you're alright," she said as another shinobi appeared in front of the Hokage. Garfield recognized him as the ill Hayate Gecko, who chose to speak as the proctor for the third phase of the exams. Connor shouted loudly, "Good. I could use a good warm-up." Wally soared high and threw his fist in the air, saying, "Oh yeah. Shadow Village, gonna kick some ass, Cammy, so noisy," said the pale, pinkette Honey Genin, crossing her arms over her small breast. "According to what I recall, he's a Namikaze. I suppose I'll need my bloodline powers to win if I fight him," she said. "Get ready to meet your demise, Namikaze." With reluctant glances, the Stone Genins thought, Stephanie remarked, "Wow, those guys look tough, as she was quite anxious about the tests. Tim reassured her, "Don't worry, Steph-chan, we got this, damn it, why does it hurt so much?" Tara asked as she rubbed her shoulder, still experiencing the agony of the horrible brand. "Will the first contestants cough please remain here and the others wait from the balcony? Will Sasuke Uchiha and Yoryo Akato please stay?" Hayate said. Canon battle and outcomes. Got to admit Sasuke was pretty good, especially with his obvious disadvantage, said Garfield. Inquiring, "What disadvantage?" Richard Garfield said, "Sasuke-chan has the same curse mark as Tara-chan, and the man with the black hair put the information away for later. I can only hope that whatever they did to the Uchiha's curse mark works just as good as the seal you put on Tara-san," Richard said. The Jounin saw the Uchiha heir fall to the ground and begin to breathe deeply before being lifted by his hair, which defied gravity, and disappearing in a whirlpool of leaves. The blonde Namikaze heard Naruto ask, "What's wrong with Sasuke?" Sakura responded to him, "It's nothing, Naruto, he's just exhausted. He was given the cursed seal of heaven by Orochimaru while in the forest of death, the same as Tara-chan," he said, startling the Leaf Genin. Garfield raised an eyebrow at the pink-haired girl, wondering why she had lied to her comrade and didn't even care that she was doing it. Confused, Naruto questioned his buddy, "Cursed seal of heaven? What is he talking about, Sakura-chan?" Sakura bit off, angry at the man for telling the truth and at her unwelcome crush for listening to him and having doubts about her. Noithing. He doesn't know what he's talking about, Sakura said. Just be quiet, Naruto baka. Naruto started to say, "Budash," but the pink-haired girl interrupted him by striking the top of his head. "Ow!" he exclaimed. Sakura snarled, wishing her crush was present instead of her colleague. "I said stop talking." Blackfire questioned her sister, "That pink-haired brat isn't so nice to her teammate, sister." "Agreed, she lacks the meaning of the importance of teamwork and friendship," Starfire said, nodding in agreement. They watched as the screen paused to reveal who would go up next, and the younger sister yelled, "You're up, Eni-chan." The pink-haired Leaf Kunoichi appeared more irritated to Naruto until she saw her name on the board, so Blackfire grinned and said, "And it seems that I get to fight Pinky."